Hey everybody, welcome back to the shop. So it's another time for a talk video. What have I been up to these last 2 weeks? I missed last Saturday. That whole time change thing really messed me up. I got out here, I don't know what time it was, Saturday morning. I'll tell you the story how my weekend went if you're curious. So I come out here on Saturday and I got myself in a funk and I just couldn't get things going again. So I puttered around out here for a while. I did some epoxy work and whatever. Saturday was kind of a bust. We didn't do much out here for that. Sunday I had to go have dinner with my son, daughter-in-law, and new grandson James, you know, the one that occupies all of Lisa's time. So time change, I get out here on Sunday, and when you do things in the shop, you know that you have to do things in a specific order so that you don't mess yourself up. So Sunday I come out here and the first thing I did was I poured this epoxy. I'm finally happy with this thing so that I can continue with it. I have to clean up the backside. But I poured epoxy in this. First thing, right out of the gate. So what does that do? That means that you can't do anything else in the shop because dust and debris and crap's flying around. So I kind of stood around here for a while, walking around going, well, that was a mistake. I shouldn't have done that. What am I going to do? So I messed around a little bit, set things up with the mill and stuff and tried to get ready. And after a while, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to transfer that thing out to the front of the shop where there's no dust, no debris, and I can continue with what I'm doing. So I take the thing out there, make sure it's level, everything's cool. I come back in here and I'm like, okay, now what am I gonna do? Well, it was cold last Saturday, so I said, well, I think it's time to start processing the wood for my rocket stove. Now, a rocket stove is a great thing, but it likes, mine anyway, likes wood that is like this. Maybe 1 inch by 1 inch or smaller, you know, any length. You can stick them in and they'll run forever. But so I said, all right, I'll process all of my scrap wood to get that ready for the cold weather. So that's what I did. I was out here and I had the Rikon over there and I sliced it through the Rikon. And by the way, when I slice these up, for safety reasons, I run the thing in about halfway and stop so my hand isn't anywhere near that blade. That's a side story I can tell you. Spin them in, spin them around, cut them the rest of the way, throw them in the garbage can, and we're good. And I do that for, well, that whole can is full over there. Last year I did 3 or 4 cans worth, but 1 can worth. And I said, all right, let's start with the next can. And the blade on the Rikon basically exploded. And I really wish I would have caught that on camera because yes, it's dangerous, but it would have been hilarious watching me jump back because it'll make your butt pucker when one of those things pops. I mean, this one come right out of the, I'm looking at the saw over the camera, but it come right out of the sight window on the end of the riser where you look in to see if your blade is on the wheel correctly. And that thing come out of there and I did one of these numbers like I was ducking and bobbing and weaving and scared the bejesus out of me. But so I said, all right, well, my saw's broke. I'll go check on that epoxy. I went out and grabbed the epoxy, looked at it, and I said there was no debris out there, but it was full of dust and lint and hair and every other thing you could think of. Don't ask me how that happened with the doors closed and no air movement. So back in the shop, here it goes. And then I use one of these guys, which is, you know, Jimmy DiResta Ice Pick. There's 1,000 different things you can do with it. And I use it for picking out stuff out of my epoxy. So I spent the next hour, luckily it was still liquid enough and it would still correct itself, pulling all that crap out of the epoxy. Now, here's the finish, obviously, and it didn't come out too bad. I am done putting epoxy on this thing regardless. This is a table for us, and so I am not going to continue to put epoxy on that thing. I also have never been able to get my epoxy to go back to the glass finish. You know, when you see all these folks on YouTube sanding their tables and sanding and polishing and they get them back down to glass. I could never get it to go that far. So I did some research and I found out that I've been using the wrong pad on my buffing tool. Now I got a mess to clean up. My buffing tool, you're supposed to use a foam pad, not one of these terry cloth things. Also, this is a medium compound. Now, I'm not sponsored by these guys, and I'm just putting it out there. This is what I grabbed because I said polishing compound, it should work. Well, nope. There's very specific polishing compound that you need to use if you're going to sand and surface your epoxies to get them back. What I just typically do is I get it right down to where I want it, and then I pour a final pour and let that be the shine. So, speaking of which, all week this week, I've been working on this guy, so we're in pretty good shape here as well. As you can see, he's pretty shiny. Now what I got to do is go over and sand all that excess off of here, clean up the back, clean up the corners where it comes out, and then I will tape off all the epoxy and I'll put some lacquer on the actual wood portion of it. Anyway, back to the saw. So I got the epoxy taken care of. I took it back out there. Actually, I took it in the house. That's a lie. I took it in the house this time. Made a level spot in the back bedroom, put it in the house, and that's the result there. Oh, I forgot another part of the story that's funny. Let me get something here. Hold on. Y'all laugh at this one. So, in the house, I have a little table with these guys on it. Y'all have some version of these. Well, they were stuck together, so I'm trying to fight with it to get it apart with this thing in my hand. So I decided I'd go like this. What's the next thing that happens? This drops right in the center of that table. And it's a good thing I wasn't on YouTube at that point, because I probably would have got shut off for the words that came out of my mouth. Again, though, luckily, it was liquid enough that it fixed itself. So one catastrophe after another Sunday. So back to the saw now. So I said, well, I've got an old saw blade. I can put that back in there and continue with the processing of the firewood. And so I started to put it in there, and I realized the bearings on the bottom of that bandsaw were locked up tighter than a frog's ass. I mean, it was, I couldn't move them. So I actually ordered a bunch of these guys. And after I ordered them, these guys, I said, I wonder if I can take them apart and get them loose. So I took this guy again back to the multiple job Jimmy DeResta ice pick, and I took this guy, and I'm not going to do it to the new ones, but I poked it in here on the edge like that, and I popped that seal out. They were packed with sawdust. Don't ask me how they got that much sawdust in there, but they were packed with sawdust. I brushed them and cleaned them and pounded on them, tapped on them, got as much sawdust out as I can. And then I took 3-in-1 oil like this, and I dumped it in there all the way around the bearing. And I proceeded to sit there and go like this for a little bit, and then finally all at once they popped loose. Now, you could feel that they're not right, because it's like you can feel them like it's chattering. I don't know if that's the right word. But you could feel like it was bouncing a little bit as it was going through, because these things are like glass when they work right. So they're in the saw. I continued with the processing, got the processing done. Then these guys show up 3 days later. Now, the next thing I've been working on is this concept here. Yes, it's another box. But this box is unique in that it's got locator pins. And the locator pins I carved on the machine. I let the machine make the dowel. Actually, I can show you some of them. These little boogers. So I let the machine cut out my dowel pins so that I could actually match the wood species to the box. That was kind of the concept of it. The other half of it is, and there's going to be a video on this. I'm not sure if I'm going to do this tomorrow or when, but the other concept is the bottom portion has got a recess cut in it, and then each section thereafter is, for lack of a better term, a donut. A donut with those pinholes lined up so that you could make, with this concept, you could make any size box, any height you want it, and just keep stacking the pieces on top using those locator pins. This was a concept. It's 4x6, and I said let's use some scrap wood, so we got some sapelli here. These two are beech or maple, I can't remember. And then this guy is walnut that was put together before. But right now I'm in the middle of, do I hinge this thing like this? Do I take the router with one of these guys here and run it along the edge here to create a finger groove, or what do I do? So that's where I'm at with this guy. But that's the project I've been working on. What else? I showed you this guy, the bearings. There was something else I wanted to tell you while I was out here. Oh, the legs, sorry. So I have decided on the table legs, they are also going to be sapelli, so that they match. Sapele, sapili, sapolu, whatever you guys call it. They'll match these when I do the legs for the table. I've got one piece of stock in the mill right now, as you can see. So we're going to start cutting them out. I try to do things as efficiently as I can out here in the shop. By that I mean, the beauty of the CNC is while it's doing its job, I can be doing something else. And that's where I messed up last Sunday. I poured the epoxy and I couldn't do anything else. I can't have that running. It does create dust. 99% of the time I don't run it without dust collection, but I have still noticed when the sunlight's coming through the windows, I can still see there's dust in the air. So I screwed myself last weekend. I'm not doing that this weekend. So the plan is we're going to get the mill running, cutting out the legs. While those legs are running, I'm going to sand and work on this guy and get him buttoned up. I need to get this ready. I think I got a week or so to have this done so that it can go to its destination. I hope the person that receives this likes it. I know that he got to see the other one that I made. I'm gonna hold this up like this so if he gets a few minutes and he's watching this, he can see it. These guys were the cutouts of the section for the box. So another little thing, when I cut these out, I realized that they would make great nameplates or something else just because of the way these corners are inverted. Just something to think about. But that's where I'm at this week. As you can see, my bench is very clean and orderly. That's a lie. It's not. As I said, when I get busy, I make a mess. But I had an Amishman tell me one time, it's okay to make a mess when you're working, but it's okay to clean up too. So that's what we do. We make a mess and we clean up. Now them sapelli legs, I just bought that board. It's over there on the chop saw. And I've had very good luck with the lumber supplier that I deal with. But on occasion, I'll pick a board, it's my own fault, that is not flat. This one here had a pretty good wobble in it. So I've got to use a little more pressure than I want to on the mill to get this thing to hold flat, but we're going to get through it. Yeah, so I mean, that's about what we're up to this week. I'm hoping tomorrow to maybe put this box video out. I'm not going to be ready with the table. I got to come up with a name for that table. Dowel table, scrap wood dowel, scrap dowel table. You know what else aggravates me while I'm talking about things? These guys right here, these dowels. I got these from the big box store. They're oak. They're 3-footers, 5/8 inch. And I wanted 10 of them, but when I saw that they were 5 something a piece, I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. So there's not going to be, the legs are designed with holes that go down and those things are going between them. I was going to do 10, but it's getting cut in half to 5 because I'm not spending $50 or more, 56 bucks on dowels just for a table that I'm making for our own house. So that's not happening. I may end up setting up a planer blade and a hole. You've seen those on the YouTuber, I'm sure, where you can run a drill through and make your own dowels. I may do that. Other than that, folks, I don't have much going on. I got a lot going on, but that's about the extent of what went on. So I forgot, I backed up a little bit here. Sunday, put the blade in the saw, reprocessed, then got done with that. Started cutting out this box, and I usually go in the house about 3 to 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a Sunday to spend time with Lisa, you know. And so that afternoon we had to go to Jake and Tessa's for dinner at their house. I do have a clock out here. It needs a battery, so it's pretty much useless. But I'm like, okay, it feels like it's about 3 o'clock. I'm going to go in the house. So I went in I shut off the machine, got everything all buttoned up out here, went in the house. Remember Saturday we turned the clocks back? Yep, you guessed it. It was 2 o'clock. I'm like, you son of a... So the whole weekend was messed up. That's why there was no videos or no talks or none of that stuff. This weekend we're hoping to have a little more success. Now I will say, a little glitch this morning. I had to run Lisa over to my sister's over in Salisbury. 3/4 of the way over there, I realized I left both of my phones on the table, which is a no-no. For my day job, I have to have this phone available all the time. I have, how many techs now? I have 14 or 15 technicians with 2 that are on call, at least, you know, daily. 2 people are on call, so I need to be able to answer the phone and tell them how to fix stuff. Well, at least tell them how I would fix it, and then they can get somebody to tell them the right way after that, because I'm the callback king. I make all kinds of callbacks in HVAC. That's a lie. I'm just kidding. Yeah, but that's what's going on this weekend. Again, I hope I'm going to have that other box video out tomorrow. If I don't, I'm not going to stress out about YouTube no more. I told you that a couple of videos back. I'm just going to enjoy myself out here. We're still not live. I still can't get my compadre out here and get her to help me with this, but that's what we got going on. So everybody that's watched this all the way to the end, I really appreciate it. Give us a like, share, and subscribe as always. We'll catch you on the next one. Thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend. Be careful of those time changes. They'll mess with you.